The next principle is, if a scare card comes and your opponent raises, don't assume he has the worst possible hand. For instance, say a third flush card comes. You bet and your opponent raises. He might have a flush, but he could also have weaker hands. He could have a set, he could have two pair, sometimes he'll even just have top pair, especially if he's got a flush draw to go with it. Many hands that are drawing dead against a flush will be just fine against two pair, and even better against top pair. Don't fold, especially if the pot's big, just because someone raises. Here's an example. Player under the gun open raises. One player cold calls. You're in middle position, and you've got the ace of hearts, king of hearts, ace king suited, so you 3-bet. Both of the blinds call, and then under the gun caps. Everybody calls, so there's 20 small bets in the pot. It's a big pot. Flop comes king, jack, 4, king of clubs, jack of clubs, 4 spades. So you flop top pair. Everybody checks to under the gun, the guy who capped, and he bets. Next player calls, and you're next to act. Well, you flop top pair, the board looks pretty good, so you raise. Small blind folds, big blind calls, and both of the other players call. 20 bets were in the pot to start with, and 8 more came in on the flop, so there's 28 small bets, or 14 big bets currently. The turn, a 9, so that completes a possible club flush. Everybody checks to you, and you bet. Now the big blind check raises. Everyone folds. It's up to you. The pot is really big. You're getting 17-1 to call. Your opponent check raised you when the flush came, so he could have a flush, which will leave you drawing dead. But don't assume he's got the flush, simply because the flush is the best hand on board. He could have other hands. He might have a set, which also leaves you drawing dead, but he could have two pair, like king 9 or jack 9. Against king 9, you have 3 outs, which is enough to call, getting 17-1. And if he has jack 9, you have 8 outs, and you got plenty of hand to call. Furthermore, he could have just top pair. He could have a king, maybe ace king with you, or king queen. He might especially raise if he has a flush draw to go with it, the ace of clubs or the queen of clubs. Now, the situation isn't good for you, don't get me wrong. But getting 17-1, you can't just assume he's got the flush and fold. The pot's too big. You have to take a chance that he has one of the weaker hands and call.